Welcome to the Om All Day podcast, where we keep the vibes high and where we focus on growing our awareness to how we can live better, design our lives and businesses to really be what we want. And I'm so excited to interview Miss Ellen today, Ellen Kotze, if I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, you have.
So welcome, Ellen. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So, something we were just chit-chatting was the importance of knowing, where we stand in terms of our visibility and our, how we're being exposed to the world. I mean, this is something that I do on a daily as part of being a business coach and, creative industry expert, I would call myself. And I don't normally get to interview people like you on the podcast. So I'm actually quite excited to have a peer. So Ellen, tell me, you focus on websites.
Yes, I focus websites mainly for the wellness industry. I love the industry. I love everything. So I'm super excited to sort of give loads of value and talk to your audience about it all.
Yes. And how long have you been as a service provider?
So I have been a service provider for 3 years now. So I worked in corporate, and then I went on to sort of be a VA of sorts. And then as I was doing that, I built my own website and then realized that everyone wanted sort of techie things rather than the normal traditional route. And I loved building my website. So when COVID came around, the dreaded COVID, I decided to sort of develop myself more and go more into web design.
Okay, awesome. So tell me a little bit about why you decided to focus on the wellness industry. Is this a passion of yours?
Yeah, it's a huge passion of mine. I love everything about the wellness industry. My mom is training to become a yoga instructor. And it's an industry that I'm super passionate about because it's an industry that I think gets scammed quite a lot. And I see it so often. And it makes me so angry when I see it. So it's an industry that I kind of want to help. And everyone in the industry wants to help people and they care about people, and that's sort of their whole ethos. So yeah, I just want to help them sort of put it out to the world, really.
So what do you think? No, not why. So why, I'm going to put a mark clip with that one. I got a tongue twister. There we go. Why do you think people need websites?
I think websites are really important. Anyway, they're like your digital storefront. There are so many different social media platforms out there at the moment, and it's great, choose one, choose two, choose however many you want and do them well. But I think, you can never go wrong with a website, especially sort of in that wellness industry where, people do want to book your services and you can use online booking. I think it's super important. I always base everything on myself. I am everyone's worst customer. Like whenever anyone talks about like, oh, you don't want this sort of person, like that's always me. And when I'm looking for like a new hairdresser or like a new beautician or whatever it is, I always go to their website. And if I can't book in online, then I won't go to them. My husband still books my doctor's appointments because I won't call them. So I think like it's super important to have that space where you can showcase what you do, and you can do that on social media, but having that place where all your services are in one place, you have a sort of your portfolio there, you have your testimonials and your reviews, and also you can get booked online. I think that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the branding and like agency world since the year 2001. So that's quite a long time. And, I always tell my clients, like, you need a website. You need a website. And they're like, why? And I'm like, you need a website because it's your digital business card. And Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because I find it often that people will put a lot of time and energy into like social media, which granted it's very important. But where is that like home for all the things? Social media are just like little glimpses of content. But at the end of the day, they're not really painting the full picture of your business
Yeah.
and your services. So and let's talk about, this is where I love to nerd out on. Now there's so many places that you can build websites. There's, Wix, Squarespace, so many. We could probably like list at least, GoDaddy has website builders and this has website builders. And from your perspective, what do you think are some of the best softwares out there to build websites?
So I'm always going to be biased towards WordPress. I use WordPress and I love it. But I think, if you need a website that you want to do yourself, I don't think Squarespace is that bad of a site, especially, if you just need something, if you're starting up or you just need something, you don't want to spend thousands and thousands. I do think Squarespace is a good sort of intermediate one. But I think the flip side of that is, you really need to think of like, okay, where do I want my business to be in 5 years? Where do I see my business going? Because you don't want a website that then holds you back because you don't have the resources that you need.
Right.
And, I always say, like, if you're going to do it once, just do it well to begin with.
Yeah.
And you don't want to sort of use Squarespace and do it yourself and you've built a website that you're proud of and that you love, but then it's not what you need moving forwards, and then you have to spend like another amount to get a new one. Like, I just think, like, in the beginning, just do it once and do it well.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Especially there's so, it takes so long to build a site. It takes so long to craft out your messaging. It takes a while to do things correctly. So I'm glad that you said that, like, do it right from the beginning. From your point of view in terms of WordPress, because I was literally having this conversation with my client the other day because we just finished building a Squarespace site. And when we were picking from like the top three, right, like the Wix, the Squarespace, the WordPress, I asked her, like, are you going to update the site? Are you going to be the one in charge? So these are things that are actually really important to talk to yourself about, right? Like if we're talking, clients, like who's going to maintain your website? And whereas I just finished a like really big site for my client who owns a spa, and like we're not building her spa site on Squarespace because she needs a lot more like SEO friendly. We needed better plugins. And she's not going to manage that site. I'm going to manage that site. So, this would be a piece of advice for you guys who are listening. Always ask, like, what's your goal for the website? What's your budget for the maintenance? And, what are some of the bells and whistles? So why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, okay, WordPress, bells and whistles. Like, why would somebody who's not, friendly with website update or website upkeep choose a WordPress site?
Yeah, so I think WordPress, even if you aren't the most techie person, I say quote unquote, I think it is the best option. I personally use the Divi Builder. I love the Divi Builder. It's really, really easy. And I love it because I can build really nice websites on it, and it does everything that I want it to do as a professional. But also then when I'm giving it over to a client who doesn't want me to maintain it or wants to do it themselves for whatever reason, it's really nice to then be able to train them on it, because it is a nice sort of drag and drop that once the basis is there, then moving it forwards, it can be quite simple as long as you don't have like an overcomplicated website. But I think anyone sort of in the wellness industry that, isn't like a spa owner or has a massive wellness center, then I do think that, keeping it relatively simple and not having too many plugins is the way forward. But also then it helps you with your SEO, especially if you're a local business that, most are in the wellness industry. Having that sort of more advanced SEO approach than Squarespace or Wix does to help you with your local SEO, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. And so what are some like common mistakes you see on websites?
Common mistake. Oh, that's a good one. I think the most common mistakes that I see is it being all about the person. And I always feel really guilty when I say this, but I think it's really true, is no one cares what your qualifications are.
Right.
I say it with so much love, but no one cares. Like, I do a lot of osteopathy websites and chiropractor websites. And, you know, I get their website and they're like, I'm really proud of it. Look at my about page. I've done so much. I'm like, that's great. No one cares. And I feel really guilty when I say it, but I think that's the most like common mistake, is like, it's not about you, it's about what you can do to help people and how you do it. You know, by almost have a little section at the bottom of your homepage that shouts about your qualifications and your training and all of that, because you should be proud of it. But please don't just have it at the top of your about page.
Yeah, absolutely. I could be like blue in the face. You know, I keep telling people, all my clients, I'm like, okay, guys, it's not, no one really cares. No one cares about you. They just really care about what you're going to do for them. So surprise. No, like, no offense, like you said, but yeah, no, I totally hear you. So if somebody doesn't have a website, what do you think are some things that they should start considering in their website process? Like, give me your top 5 things that you should absolutely have on your website.
I think online booking is a must. I will shout it till I'm blue in the face to anyone that will listen to me. I think having that about section about you is so important. And I think also having images that aren't stock images on your website and using images that are you. You know, they don't have to be done by a professional photographer and you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them to begin with. Then even if you just take a few of you either doing a yoga pose or, you know, in your clinic or whatever it is, I think that's super, super important. Like, by all means, have some stock images like mixed in with them. But I think having the photos of you throughout, like I was looking at a website the other day and there was no photos, actually none of the person. I was just like, but I don't know who you are. Like, all I know is your name. That's great. But like, I want to know who you are. I want to see a face. So then when I go to one of your classes or when I meet you in person, I know your face. I'm like, I already know you. This is great. I don't feel so uncomfortable. So I think, thinking about photos is really important. How was that? Is that 3?
Yep, keep going. We got 2 more.
And then having your services and just being really clear on what your services are. And making sure that's like really clear both on your homepage and having them like on their own like individual pages as well. And I think also just linking to your social media as well. You know, people want that know, like, and trust factor. And I think seeing your social media, which is a little bit less formal than a website, and, you know, we'll have those iPhone pictures of you doing stuff or, you know, stories of you doing things throughout your day, again, builds that know, like, and trust factor. So again, I think that's really, really important that people can sort of have a bit of a stalking mode and go through like everything that you have in order to see you.
Yes, no, I love that. I mean, at the end of the day, here's what we're saying, right, guys? Like, 1, it's all about your client and their experience. 2, it's about people getting to know you through the website, which is more of a relationship building tool as well, because now we're talking about sales. And 3 is that your website should house kind of like a quick 1, 2, 3. Like, if I need to figure out how to book you, like read about you and, you know, see your social media all in one place, like, that's your website. Now, when I get, you know, asked about websites, people are like, do you do SEO? That's like the number one question. Do you do SEO? Like, is my website going to have SEO? And for you guys who don't know, SEO is search engine optimization. That's a whole other like conversation. Do you get
another 2 podcasts?
Yeah, totally. Do you find that, you know, this is a question that people ask you and people assume that you're going to be their like SEO guru while you're building the website? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, 100%. SEO is like the first question. I think I get SEO before I even get asked what the price is. Like, it's up there as one of the questions. And if they don't know what SEO is, and it's like, well, am I going to be ranked first on Google?
Right.
It's like, probably not. It takes a lot than just, putting some keywords onto a page for SEO. SEO is such an ongoing process. And yes, like on WordPress, you have Rank Math or Yoast or, any of those tools. They only go so far. Like, you need to be blogging in a certain way that the SEO then really comes into its own on the blogs as well. And I think it's such an ongoing process that you can't, like, anyone that says to you, like, yeah, we're going to do like 2 hours of work for you and you're going to be ranked number 1 on Google and that's it, you're done and sorted, like, is lying. It just doesn't happen. And
Right.
It takes so much work in order to get even on the first page of Google, and to continue on that first page of Google. I think it's just, it's an ongoing process. So I think SEO is a great tool, but it's definitely an added service because of that ongoing piece.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys, like, you want to be found on Google. You want your website to have SEO friendly. Like, you want to go and do some keyword search ahead of time. But at the end of the day, whether it's Ellen, myself, or whoever you bring onto your team to help you build the site, they're not just going to magically spend hours extra doing the keyword research, writing out the SEO friendly content, because that's not, part of the design process. And I like to educate people on this because it's so important. Sometimes people think like, oh, you're a website designer, you're going to do everything for me. And then I'm going to have a flood of clients, knocking on my door because I have this beautiful website. Well, it's website plus. Now we're talking about marketing. So, right? Like, would you agree that like website is part of your brand?
Yeah.
Then the action of getting people to your website, that's part of the marketing. Yeah. So I don't know how you feel about, when you're creating a proposal, what do you think are the things that maybe people automatically think that you do that you're like, well, no, that's a whole different conversation?
Yeah, it's definitely like, as soon as like someone here says, I say to someone like, oh, I'm a website, and they're like, so you get me first on Google then? I'm like, no. Like, people are so fixated on being number 1 on Google, but it's not the end all or be all. Like, just because you're not number 1 on Google doesn't mean that it's not working.
Right.
And I think that's so important for people to sort of realize, is that, just because you're not number 1 on Google doesn't mean that, everything's like gone horribly wrong and it's not working. Like, it still works, especially because you're local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as someone really narrows down their search on Google, which people do,
mm-hmm.
And just like yoga classes in Brighton, which is where I am, or going even further and going like hot yoga or something like that, like, you're gonna come up more than just yoga classes.
Exactly.
So it's really important. And I think, that blog piece that I spoke about before about being your SEO, like, I think that's such a good marketing tool in itself, because then you can link it to your social media. You can make sure that you have it going out on your website. You can put it on your LinkedIn if you have LinkedIn. Like, there's so many different things you can do with that one piece of content.
Yeah.
Like, again, you go really into the realms of the marketing. So I do think SEO is sort of like on that cusp of like web developer design, but also then going into sort of the marketing. I think it's one of those sort of like on the cusp things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's good for us like to kind of put it out there on the line, because, as industry professionals who are serving people's business growth, like, the more clarity, at least is my belief, right? The more clarity I have in the upfront, then like the happier client. And then in the planning process, for again, you guys who are looking to either upgrade your website, build a website, get your brand out there, it is important that what is the goal of my website? Is it to get more people onto my local business? Because then the way you set up your website will definitely affect that. Or is the goal to sell online courses? So knowing the goal is going to dictate how you structure your website. So what are some questions that you ask your clients when you're maybe first starting? I think that'd be really great for people to start thinking about.
So the first thing I ask is, what websites don't you like? You can find so much from someone with what they don't like rather than what they do like. I could, spend a whole day with someone about going what they like, and it'll be so vague. Like, oh, I kind of like this color, and I kind of like this, and I like this design. But then when you go down there, okay, so what don't you like? It's so granular. Like, I really don't like that shade of blue. I think that shade of blue really isn't very nice. But if you go like a little bit higher or a little bit lower, I think I would like it a little bit more. Like, people get so granular with what they don't like. So I always ask that question of like, what websites don't you like?
Don't you like?
And then, again, it's just sort of saying like, okay, so what websites don't you like? What sort of vibe are you looking at? And who are you marketing like to? I think that's huge as well, because that really then dictates how the layout and design of the website is. If you're marketing sort of like the 20, 30-year-olds or, sometimes even younger, then you want that sort of funkier design. You can sort of play around with those elements a bit more.
Yeah.
And if you're like marketing sort of to sort of the older generation, then you kind of want to pare back on those sort of design features just a little bit, not too much, just so then it's really clear up for them as well. So I think it's really important of who you're marketing to. Yeah.
No, thank you. I mean, like I said, it's kind of nice that I get to speak with like a interesting peer versus me interviewing, because all day long, when I'm coaching people, I'm always like, who's your client? Who's your client? Who's your client? Who's your client? Right. And knowing that, again, informs the languaging, the copy. Do you write the copy for your clients, or do they provide the copy?
No, they provide the copy, but we have like a very long, in-depth thought form that sort of holds their hand throughout the process. But I think for copywriting, it's such a niche thing, and no one will say what's best for your website or your business than you do. So I tend to, I don't write it. I tend not to, I don't. Because I just think it's so important that it comes from you as a business owner, because you know your website best. Mm-hmm. And again, trust comes across so much better because it's your voice. So then when it's on social media, again, it's your voice. And then when they meet you in person, it's your voice. Like, there's that whole continuity piece where people are a lot like, oh, well, you're different than I thought you would be in person because of what they've seen online. Whereas when you've written it and then they meet you in person, it's like, yeah, you're exactly who I thought you were going to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. And let me see. I think we could close out with some like big time no-nos. I think we kind of talked about that, but like, here, I'll give you guys an example. So I had a client and we built her this like really beautiful website, and then she started updating it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no, it's correct. Yeah. And so then I remember I was gonna like showcase her website. I was going to get a client, and I opened up the site, and it was it's mishmash. So what would you say, Ellen, if you're going to update your website, what are some things that you must do and must not do? I almost feel like I'm quizzing you. I'm like, are you a good website designer? No, I'm not, but you know what I mean.
I know, I'm in comments, I'm like, did I say the right thing? Did I get it right?
But no, I like, the reason I think I'm asking you stuff like this is because I feel like I'm always the one saying stuff, and like I'm also like being like, did I forget? In 20 years in the industry, like, am I forgetting certain things? Like, you're fresh in this business compared to like me, the dinosaur. But like, what would you say? Like, you have a lot of clients who are like the wellness entrepreneurs, and they might not have the budget to, pay you or, a team to maintain things. They're like, oh, I can just do it myself. What would you say are some things that you would be like, easy now? Easy.
Yes, I think plugins are fine to update. please don't update the themes.
Yeah. On WordPress especially, right? Like,
yeah, WordPress themes, and then your actual theme, like, so your builder theme of what you're using. Those two are the things that break, and when they break disastrously. I think, like, if you have limited plugins, by all means, like, update them. They, touch wood, don't seem to break sites as badly. But I think theme plugins, please just don't.
Just don't touch them.
Just don't touch those.
Yeah, agree. So I'm loving that we had this conversation. Thank you so much, Ellen. And if you guys go to the show notes, you'll find her website and her social media, so you can connect with her as well there. And this is part of our Grow Your Business Entrepreneurship series of the podcast. So I think this will be great episode for you to listen to with some of my episodes on visibility, confidence, and what it takes to really, elevate, ascend. I'm using this word instead of elevate lately, is that ascension. Yes. I think the word elevate, like, it's funny enough because, I love the word elevation because it really, like, does. And even one of my favorite, like, essential oil blends is called Elevate. But there's an aspect of ascension that I feel like it almost also gets you to, like, mastery, right? Like, you're not elevating towards mastery, you're ascending to mastery. So I'm being really particular with my words lately. And so, I'm super excited that we had you, Ellen. Thank you for your time. And I hope.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you soon. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks. Bye.